Kavya, can you please switch on the microphone so I can't hear you? Now it's fine. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Kavya, still I can't see you. So, yeah, now I can see you. Hi, Kavya, good evening. Hi, Kavya, good evening. Can you hear me, Kavya?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, now it's fine. I can hear you well. Okay. So, Kavya, good evening.
Good evening, teacher.
Okay, Kavya. So, today we are going to start your new science class. So, um, let's have a chat at first. Um, uh, okay, now I can see you. So, I'm Jayakody, your new science teacher. So, I'm a teacher for about 4 years. So, we are going to start our new lessons today for grade 10. So, we have to start from the beginning since this is a new class. So, I have sent you the PDF tube. It has some spaces and you can fill those spaces, but I couldn't send that earlier since this is the first class of ours. And later on, I'll send this before the class. Then you can take a printout and you can engage with the classware. And also, after doing normally what we are doing in this class is we are discussing our lessons and all the things, and we are writing the things in tubes, and also finally you have a paper at the end of each lessons. You have to answer a paper, just about 10 questions, a few short questions. So it's the method we are doing. So shall we start? Okay. So today our first lesson is the chemical basis of life. So before starting the lesson, um, um, let's discuss what's a life. So what are the living things? What are the main groups of living things you know? What are the living things you have learned? Can you just tell me all the things, everything in this nature? We are dividing into two groups, like living things and non-living things. And in the living things section, we are discussing these are living things, these are living things, in that way. I tell you one thing, that is plants. And what else? Have you have some idea? Okay, Kavya. But are things no, you know? One thing is plants. I told that. Is there something you know? The living things in this nature when you look at around. Tell us.
Animals.
Animals, yeah, good, really good. Then plants, animals, and we can add another group, that is
Microorganisms.
microorganisms. Well, you know that. So these all the living things are made up of uh, some few like non-living things. Mainly non-living things are the base of these living things. So today in this lesson, we are going to discuss about the chemical basis of life. So now we know what is the life is. They are plants, animals, and microorganisms. So in this lesson, I'm sharing my screen with you. So we have a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah. Okay. Can you see the slides? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. When you okay, when we look at this few images, we can see organisms on this earth are feeding in different ways. In case of us, that means as humans, how we get the energy to do our day-to-day activities, how we take energy to do these activities. Normally, what we do, what we take day to day to take energy, what we do. Be,
Getting foods.
yeah, really good. We are getting foods. So you can see here this little lamb. He is drinking milk with his little dog friend, and also its milk is a non-living thing. That lamb is drinking that milk, so he will grow further and further. And in the same way, in this plant, it is getting water to grow itself. And also, we know that normally in plants, they carry out photosynthesis to produce their own food. But we can't produce our own food, so we are depending on the food produced by other organisms, maybe plants or maybe meat, milk, everything. So these all the food, all the things absorbed by nature are some non-living thing in this nature. That means they are made up of different elements. Like here it is mentioned that carbon, um, oxygen, hydrogen, and these are elements in this nature. We call these things are elements. This all the food we intake are made up of different elements. So this food contain different substances. That means here it is water. This plant absorbs water, and milk contains some nutrients like different sugars and different uh, minerals, and all the thing is in milk. So this non-living thing is the basis of our life. Then we will see all of these things are named as compounds. That means if we take a plate here you can see a plate of food. Here we can see different elements, different compounds are in this, like glucose and salt, water. In order to prepare this food, we are adding different things. That means here it has food. That means meat and some salad leaves. So all of the things contain water and some added salt and glucose, like different compounds. And as humans and as plants, they absorb oxygen like gases to respirate. So in this way, we are taking different compounds to our body. So these all the compounds are made up of different element in this nature. You can see here in water, it is mentioned as H2O. That means hydrogen and oxygen is here. And here this is salt. Salt is made up of sodium and chlorine. These are the elements in this different compounds. So these all the compounds are made up of elements. When we look at this periodic table, this is the periodic table where all the elements in this Earth are grouped in a particular place. So this is the periodic table. We can see different elements are in it. Around 120 elements in a periodic table, but only 92 elements are present in nature. Only 92 elements present in nature, but only 25 of them can be found in our living bodies. That means when we take different foods, we take different compounds. That means we are taking different elements. Later on, we are using these different elements in our body to make different compounds in our body. As an example, when we think about our body, we have muscles. To produce muscles, we need different elements. And also, we have different body parts like hair, and also our blood, and all the things, all the tissues in our body are made up of different elements in this way. But only 25 elements are in living body. Only 25 elements can be found in our living body. So, this is the composition of elements in a human body. Can you see here? What are the most 4 elements in a living body? Can you tell me? This is selected here. What are those?
Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen.
And nitrogen. Yes, those are the main elements which can be found in our human body. So as a percentage, oxygen has the highest amount. So it is 65% of the human body weight. And then it is carbon. And after that, it is hydrogen. It is 10%. And finally, nitrogen is in 3%. Other elements like calcium and other elements like sulfur. It is mentioned here that phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, potassium, sodium, Fe means it is iron, and also chlorine. So these kind of different elements are in other 4% of the human body weight. So this is the composition of elements in our body. So today, I know that you don't have the hard copy with you, but could you download the PDF file with? Did you downloaded it?
No, teacher.
No. You have a PDF file. So try to open it. And show it to you. So this is your tute. You have some spaces in this. You can fill all of these things at the end of the class. So you have finally you are having the presentation to refer at the end of the class. So you can fill those things by your own. Understood? There are some spaces in this. Okay? Yes. Okay, this is about the elemental composition of our human body. Now, most of these elements are participating to produce different chemical compounds in our body. As I told you, when we are eating food, we are taking compounds in our body. Taking in compounds. So these different chemical compounds can be divided into main 2 groups. They are organic compounds and inorganic compounds. So here, organic compounds are the chemical compounds which contain carbon as a constitutive element in this. If we take a molecule of particular chemical compound, it may contain carbon. So that carbon containing chemical compounds are named as organic compounds. Other compounds which doesn't have carbon as a constituent element are named as inorganic compounds. You can see here there are 5 organic compounds. They are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, and vitamins. Here, this carbohydrate, protein, lipid, and nucleic acid, these 4 organic compounds are named as the 4 major biological molecules in our body. So, a vitamin is not a major biological compound, but it's an organic compound which contains carbon as a constituent element. Then in the other side, these are inorganic compounds like water and some minerals and some gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide. They are inorganic compounds. So minerals means different ions we are taking. That means zinc and copper, different ions we are taking with our food. So those are minerals. So water is the main inorganic compound we are taking in because it has a highest percentage of our body. So you can see here some water molecules are attracting each other. This blue color and yellow color image you can see here. They are water molecules. They are the main inorganic compound in our body. So there are some other minerals like sodium chloride. It's a compound which contains sodium and chlorine ion. You can see here blue and white color. This lattice is the sodium chloride lattice. So it's a mineral. There are 2 minerals we are taking as a compound, sodium chloride. So then in this lesson, what we are mainly doing is we are going to talk about these 4 major biological molecules. They are carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. So in this lesson, what we do is we are talking about the structure, and there are different Kavya, at the end of this class, you can download the PDF tutor. I'll show you how to do it at first, okay? I'm going to share my screen with you so you can download it, okay? I couldn't tell you earlier. When you log in as a student, you can see this kind of profile. Can you see? Yes, here under tutorial section, you can download your PDF file. Okay. And then, since I am giving a little paper to write, so it's just contain only 10 questions. So it can be downloaded here under this papers section. Did you understand? Yes, okay. So you can later download it. So we are coming to our lesson now again. So what are the main biological molecules mentioned here? Can you tell me?
Carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, nucleic acid.
Nucleic acid. So today I'm talking with you like this because you don't have anything to write today because otherwise, fine. So these are the main biological molecules: carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. First of all, we are going to look at their elemental composition. So first, at the first of the lesson, I told you that these all the molecules, all the chemical compounds are made up of elements. So we are not going to learn all of the biological molecules, all of the chemical compounds, but we are learning only about these four major biological molecules. So we have to know what are the elements in those things. So I have prepared a table like this, then you can remember all of these things. Uh, so here, carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So it is mentioned here that CHO. Give me a second. Yes, now you can see it. Here carbohydrate contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And then proteins contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and N is nitrogen, and sometimes little amount of sulfur. S is sulfur. Then lipids. Lipid has the same elemental composition as carbohydrate. It again contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And then we are moving to nucleic acids. They contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. So you can remember this like this. Carbohydrates is CHO, and proteins chons, and lipid is CHO again, and nucleic acid is CHON. You can remember it like this: CHO, chons, CHO, CHON. You can remember it like this. And then we are going to learn about the structural unit. As I told you, these are biological molecules. These are not little things. They are very big molecules. Just like a necklace is made up of little beads. It contains different beads, different colors, and different beads in a single necklace. But this kind of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids, they are also made up of little beads like things. They are like links of a chain or a necklace. So in case of carbohydrate, it has a little bead like thing named as monosaccharide. That is the structural unit. That is the unit which makes the carbohydrate. And in case of protein, it is amino acids. Amino acids make the protein molecule. Large amount come together and bind together and make protein. And then in case of lipids, it is fatty acids and glycerol. And for nucleic acids, it is nucleotide. We are discussing these things further later, but here I am just mentioning what are the structural unit of these things. So if we want to take carbohydrate in, we have to eat this kind of foods like different starchy foods, yams, like potatoes, and also different fruits and rice. These contain carbohydrate much. They are carbohydrate rich. We are discussing in detail later. And in case of proteins, they are different fish, meat, egg, and milk-like things. So they are rich with proteins. And then lipid-rich foods are like margarine, and then butter, and then oil, olive oil, coconut oil. These kind of things are rich in lipids. But nucleic acid is just a biological molecule within a human or a plant or a bacterial cell, any kind of a living thing. We can find it as the molecule which contain the activities of a cell, but we are not discussing what are the foods rich with those biological molecule, which is named as nucleic acid. But it can be remembered for carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. And then so we are going to discuss about these carbohydrate molecules in detail. As I told you, it contains CHO and it is made up of monosaccharides. So in this Carbohydrates, there are three major groups of carbohydrates. They are monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. It is not a single group of molecules. It has three different types of molecules. These three different groups are defined according to their structure. When we take monosaccharide, it contains a little single molecule. Mono means single. Mono කියන්නේ එකයි. So there's only one molecule. So monosaccharide contain only one sugar molecule. As an example, there are three examples we have to learn. They are glucose, fructose, and galactose. So their common chemical formula is C6H12O6. C6H12O6. So it is applicable for these all three, glucose, fructose, and galactose. So it is monosaccharides. And then disaccharide. This is the second group. In disaccharide section, these two monosaccharide molecules combine together. Mono means one, di means two. So monosaccharides combine together to make a disaccharide. So when two glucose molecules are connected together, we call it as a maltose molecule. And then when two fructose molecules are one glucose molecule, and you can see it here. Here in this slide, you can see it here. Maltose, it's a disaccharide. It is made up of glucose plus glucose. That means two glucose molecules. Then sucrose, it is made up of one glucose molecule and one fructose molecule. And then lactose, it is another disaccharide. It is made up of glucose and another galactose molecule. ඔය වගේ අර පුංචි beads එකතු වෙනවා වගේ two beads come together and make a single molecule. Two beads means two monosaccharides, and the molecule which is formed at the end is a disaccharide. එතකොට දෙකක් වෙනකොට it's a disaccharide. So here you can see it here, two sugar molecules linked, it is disaccharide. So here, when this disaccharide is formed, a water molecule is removed. The formula of water molecule is H2O. H2 means two H atoms. So when we add this C6H12O6 and another C6H12O6 together, it will make C12H24 and O12. But we can't see it here in disaccharide section. C12, okay, but H24, it's not here, it's 22. Then what has happened that? What is the reduced amount of H molecule, H atoms? What is the number of H atoms which is reduced? Can you see me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. 24 has become 22. Then what is the number which is less?
2.
2. And it is in H2O molecule. And when it's come to O, here it is, it has some mistake. Here it should be 11 because H2O molecule is removing. H2O means 1 O and then not 12 oxygen atoms there, only 11 O is removing. Then I'm coming to the polysaccharide group. It has large number of monosaccharide molecules connected together. So examples are, so these molecules are made up of combining different monosaccharide molecules together. Many monosaccharide molecules, not just single two molecule. many molecules are connected together, like in this image. Many molecules are connected together. So in carbohydrate here, as you can see here, H to O ratio, hydrogen to oxygen ratio is 2 to 1. You can see here 12, 6, the ratio gives 2 to 1. Then we are going to discuss about these things in detail. The group monosaccharide. As we can normally see, these monosaccharides, all the images given here are contain some sweet things like honey and also some fruits and some carrots and pumpkin, this kind of all the things. And here it is given as galactose. If I can add some glucose, here it's also fine, but it is not given the image. So glucose, fructose, galactose are the monosaccharides as we learn in this table. So you can see here they are sweet in taste, but this galactose is not sweet in taste, and they are water soluble. If we say take some amount of glucose, it is easily water soluble. Also fructose is a water soluble sugar. Galactose also water soluble, and they are crystal shaped. The best example you can remember here for monosaccharide is glucose. අපි glucose කනකොට ඒක ඉක්මනට දිය වෙනවා. And ඒක හරිම පැණි රසයි. ඉතින් sweet in taste, water soluble. ඊට පස්සේ glucose නම් එච්චරම අපිට කැට කැට විදිය දකින්නේ නැහැ, but they are little tiny crystals. And mainly this is the building block of carbohydrate. අපි මුලින්ම ඉගෙන ගත්තානේ. This is the building block of carbohydrate. So here, as an important thing, since this is the simple structure, we call these monosaccharides as simple sugar. And fructose is named as fruit sugar because it is mainly found in fruits. Otherwise, it can be found in honey and different sweet taste vegetables like pumpkin, carrot, and everything. And in here, I have mentioned you bee honey. And here, in case of glucose, this is the structure of glucose. It has 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and again 6 oxygen atoms. This is the structure, molecular structure of glucose. And this glucose is very important because that is the main source of food in each and every animal in this nature, because plants produce glucose during the photosynthesis. You can see here photosynthesis occur, there's a leaf and light falls on it, it absorbs carbon dioxide and it absorbs water, it make carbohydrates and it release oxygen. So this process is very, very important for the nature. So mainly we depend on this process. Here you can see this image gives some glucose molecules are exercising. That means it gives us the energy. It is the source of energy when we are running with some glucose. It gives us instant energy because it's a simple sugar, it's easily dissolved and absorbed by our blood. So it is the energy source. So monosaccharide acts as an energy source. All the carbohydrate acts as energy source, but glucose is easily water soluble. Then here galactose, it can be found in milk. That is found in milk. And then we are moving to talk about disaccharide. This is our second group of carbohydrate. So here you can see examples are maltose and sucrose and then lactose. As in the same way for monosaccharide, they are sweet in taste. The most common example is sucrose. Sucrose කියන්නේ සීනි, but we use as table sugar. It is sucrose කියන්නේ, that means they are sweet in taste. Penirasai. We can remember the most common example is sucrose, and they are water soluble. We know that it dissolving in water, and they are crystal shaped, cutie crystals. So here, as I mentioned you earlier, two monosaccharides are connected to make this disaccharides, as in this formula. Here, in this equation, you can see maltose, and it is made up of two glucose molecules. This process is called hydrolysis of disaccharides. What I have mentioned here, I have given here is hydrolysis of disaccharides. Hydrolysis means breaking down. Disaccharides means contain two monosaccharides separate together. That process is hydrolysis. Maltose break down into its uh, building blocks. That means glucose and glucose. So maltose can be easily found in germinating seeds. When the seeds are germinating, all the starch in it, starch is stored in a seed. It is converted into a easily water soluble sugar, which is named as maltose. Then sucrose, it is found in sugar. Sugar is made up of sugar cane and also from wheat. There are different sources for sugar. So sugar is sucrose. And then lactose. This is the only sugar which is not found in plants. It is only found in milk product, dairy products. So they are made up of different monosaccharides like this. I told you this earlier too. Glucose plus glucose, maltose, and water molecule is released. Glucose plus fructose. Here it should be sucrose. This should be sucrose. The product is sucrose. What should we mention here? Okay. And then here, glucose and galactose, it makes lactose and water molecule is released. And then I discussed with you, this is the breaking down of the formed disaccharides. Again, we get monosaccharides at the end. And then we are moving to the polysaccharide. This is something different from other two groups of carbohydrate because they are not sweet in taste. The most common example we can take is starch, that is maybe wheat flour or corn flour, whatever. They are not sweet in taste. And then they are not water soluble. When we dissolve, it settle up to the bottom. It is not dissolving. And they are not crystals. It's a powder. And polymerization of large number of monosaccharides make this polysaccharides. Here you can see in this cell, under this cellulose example, here you can see few polygonal shape sugar molecules are connecting together. The large number of them are connecting together to make cellulose. And then it is the structure. It makes the structure of cell wall, plant cell wall. Plant cells are having a cell wall, not like the animal cells. It is very rigid. It is made up of this cellulose. Here you can see some microscopic images of this cellulose. And then starch, it's a polysaccharide, and then glycogen. Glycogen is important. As I told you, in plants, starch is stored. Different yams, here you can see potato and wheat flour and some grains contain starch. That is the stored food in plants. But in case of human or in case of animals, the stored food in our body is glycogen. In our liver, this large number of glucose molecules we intake are connected together and make a single large molecule named as glycogen. So glycogen is our stored food. It's a polysaccharide. So you can remember these three examples as the polysaccharides. And then now we are moving to discuss about their significance. As I told you, glucose is a good energy source when we are about to run. But all the carbohydrates act as an energy source. But like starch and other carbohydrates are not fast dissolving and they are not acting fast, but all the carbohydrates are acting as an energy source. Then they act as a storage compound. They store different things. Uh, they are stored in potatoes, like plants, and they are stored in animals, in liver. As I mentioned here, it is stored in our liver. It is stored in plants, and then as a component of cell wall, as I mentioned you earlier, cellulose make the cell wall. It is the component of cell wall of the plant cell, and as a component of nucleic acids. I told you the fourth group of main biological molecules is the nucleic acid. So here, to make this nucleic acid, nucleotide participate as the structural unit. So this is the structure of that nucleotide. This is the nucleotide. Here you can see here, it is mentioned that sugar. So sugar is a monosaccharide molecule. You can see here, it's a carbohydrate. So it acts as a component of nucleic acid at the end. So these are the significance of carbohydrates. So Kavya, is there something you couldn't understand until now?
No, teacher.
Uh,
Teacher, should we want to write the PDF on a notebook?
no need to write that, but you can take a printout of that, and you can fill the spaces, and you can attach by puncturing it or by stapling it, or you can attach it to a file. Then lesson by lesson, you are attaching all the tudes. You have a complete tude with you. Is that fine?
Yes, teacher.
Yes. Today you don't have to write anything. So it will be a little bit difficult for you today, isn't it? Is it? So now we are going to move on to the next part of our lesson. Until now, we have discussed about the carbohydrate. Can you mention me what are the three types of carbohydrates, three main groups of carbohydrate? Can you tell me?
Monosaccharide, disaccharide, polysaccharide.
Yeah, those are the main three groups of carbohydrates. And then we have discussed about these three carbohydrates in detail and what are their features and what are the example, where we can find them, and later on, what is the significance of these all carbohydrates and all. Now we are moving to our next group of organic molecules, major biological molecules. The second group, that is proteins. So, as I told you earlier, it contains chons, that means CHONS. That means carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur. So, these are the main elements present in these proteins. So, when we think about our body, 17% of our human body, when we take as the percentage of a weight, it's about 17% in our body weight. Protein is about 17% because all the muscles and everything is made up of these proteins. Protein fibers are the base of our muscles. So 70% of our body weight is only is given by the proteins. So as I told you earlier, they are made up of amino acids. So this is the structure of amino acids. You can see here little chain of beads. They are, when we take a little bead, it's an amino acid. There are several amino acids mentioned here. You don't need to know the names of these amino acids, but you have to know that amino acids is the structural unit of this proteins. It's the single bead of a protein chain. Then it's the structural unit. And also, when we look at this nature, when we look at this environment, we have 20 amino acid, 20 amino acid in this nature. These 20 amino acids arranged in different ways like maybe 4 amino acids coming and they are arranging in different order. In this way, as in this image, they make different proteins. Only 20 amino acids make different large number of proteins according to their arrangement pattern. So you have to remember this thing too. And again, 17% of our body weight is proteins. So here some examples are given: hemoglobin, albumin, keratin, myosin, actin, like they are proteins. As I told you that our muscles are made up of protein fibers. So these are the 2 protein fibers found in our muscles. They are found in our muscles. So they are myosin and actin. And keratin is found in our hair and also in our nails. And hemoglobin is the protein. It is the protein in our red blood cells to transport oxygen. And albumin is found in egg white. So these are the proteins found in living matter, like any plant, any animal, or any microorganism in different places. So this is the structure of amino acids, as I told you. Here there are 4 main parts of an amino acid. Here red color, this part is amino group. So it contains NH2. NH2 is the amino group and R is the side chain, and this COOH, this is the carboxylic acid group or carboxyl group කියලා කියනවා අපි ඒකට, and this is the hydrogen atom. This is the normal structure. This R can be changed. මේක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් එක එක විදිහට, එක එක elements එන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් අපි ඒකට common letter එකක් දෙනවා R කියලා. So here amino group, it is not changing. Carboxylic group, it is not changing. Also H, it is not changing. This is the one which is going to be changed. But we are not much discussing about these things. You have to only remember there are 4 major groups of an amino acid. That is the only thing you have to remember about amino acids. And you have to remember again, amino acid is the structural unit of protein. When these amino acids are connecting together, we call this process as polymerization. Polymer means many molecules are connecting together. So polymerization means large number of amino acids are connected together to make a protein. Then when we think about these proteins, there's a special group of protein named as enzyme. Enzyme is also a protein. Enzyme is a protein, but it performs a special function in our body. Normally, all the proteins I mentioned here, they are doing different functions in our body. Myosin actin make the muscles, and keratin makes our hair and nail and all. And hemoglobin is found in our blood tissue. But these enzymes, they are found all over our body, and they are performing a special function, that is, they speed the rate of our biological reactions, our biochemical reactions in our cells. When we think about a human cell, it is respirating. It is respirating. So it needs different enzymes to do it. And when we think about synthesis of different molecules, it may be a DNA molecule. That means we are discussing it later, a nucleic acid molecule. Then to produce this nucleic acid molecule, or to produce different myosin actin-like proteins, there should be a special thing which increase their rate of reactions. That means all the synthetic reactions now we can do in a laboratory. But when we are doing a reaction in a laboratory, we have to heat it and we have to stir it. But in our body, we can't do anything. We can't heat it. We can't stir until something dissolves. But all the things are happening nicely in our body. When we eat a piece of bread, it's nicely dissolved. It's starch into maltose and then into 2-glucose molecule nicely. But if we want to do it in a laboratory, we have to heat and we have to add some acids and we have to add some different chemicals to break down these things. But it is not needed in our body because we have enzymes. So it's a special group of protein produced within an organism. It is produced within us and produced within plants to increase the rate of biochemical. It is increasing the biochemical reaction. So in this part, we have a special test to discuss or test to practice in our laboratory. So here what it has to do is we have to take a starch suspension. That is, you can see here starch suspension. What we have to do is we have to take some little amount of wheat flour or any starch thing, and we can dissolve it in hot water and we can prepare a suspension, that means a solution. And then again we have to take something else, that is filtrate of a ground germinating green gram seedlings. It should be here. Green gram means mung beans, and then it should be brown. Here you can see here germinating green gram. You have to take these things. You have to keep it to soak for overnight, and you can squeeze it and you can ground it. You can grind it and then you can prepare a suspension. Here you can see it is in a test tube now. You can filter the solution. You can remove the residues. Residues, and then you can take a nice liquid. It is filtrate of the ground germinating green gram seedlings. And then we have to keep it together in a same temperature. And what we have to do next is we have to add our filtrate of the green grams seedling solution to starch suspension. Then these are mixed together. What is in this filtrate of the ground green gram solution is amylase enzyme. As I told you, during the seed germination here, all the starch is converting into maltose. That means it has large amount of amylase in it. So we don't need to take amylase from anywhere. We can grind this and take the filtrate. So it contains more amylase. Then this amylase can do a special function. This amylase can do what it did in a soaked seed. එයා කලේ ස්ටාර්ච් ටික ඔක්කොම maltose වලට convert කළා. So it is doing the same function here. Starch suspension is here. There's a source to digest. So it is doing it. So starch amylase mixture is here. Then what we have to do at just after mixing them together is we have to take a drop of that solution. Here in this image, it is mentioned that some another chemical it is loaded at first, but we are doing actually here is we take a drop of that solution and put it on a white porcelain tile. සුදු පාට ටයිල් එකක් උඩ ලැබ් එකේ තියෙනවා එක drop එකක් මේ suspension එකකින්. After placing it, what we are doing is we take an iodine solution. Iodine solution කියන්නේ අර ගෙදර තියෙන bethadine වගේ අර ඒ පාට එතන තියෙන iodine solution එක. So we take a drop and we put that drop on the drop we are taking from the mixture. Then we can see nice blue color. When starch react with iodine, we can see a blue color. At the first, we can see nice blue color, but we have to do it within 2 minutes intervals. මේක කරගෙන යනවා 2 minutes interval වලදී. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? We can nicely see that this blue color is reducing little by little. So what happened here is මොකද වෙනවැත්තේ නම් starch වලට? Can you guess here? What will happen? What will happen to that starch in the mixture? Can you just guess and tell me? චුට්ටක් guess කරලා කියන්න පුළුවන්ද? මොකද වෙනවා ඇත්තේ? starch වලට. What will happen to that? Starch gives blue with iodine. But at the end, no blue, only iodine. Why? Can you just guess? Or else shall I tell? Okay, I'm going to tell you. So here what happened is, at the beginning, there's starch. We can see blue color is giving. But later on it is reducing. That means starch is reducing. Blue color reducing means starch reducing. Why starch is reducing is, it is digested, it is hydrolyzed by this amylase enzyme given by this seed suspension. ඉතින් ගත්ත amylase නිසා starch ටික convert වෙනවා little by little maltose වලට. So finally there's no starch to react with iodine and give us a blue color. So we will get only color of iodine. Color of iodine is yellowish brown. We can see at the end that color, only that color we can see at the end. So that is the test we are doing to check the activity of an enzyme. Enzyme එකක් කොහොමද වැඩ කරන්නේ? How it reduce, how it convert its substrate. We can see how it is reducing, how it is going to be reduced with the action of amylase. So this is all about proteins, their structure and the special group of protein, which is enzyme. So then we have to discuss about their significance. They are very important. When we think about enzyme, they are really important in our body for the digestion of food in our body. They are really important. So basically, this is also acting as a energy source. When carbohydrate and lipids are not enough in our body, they are acting as a energy source. As an example, I told you, when people are not eating for a long time, they don't have enough food to eat for a long time, they are when they are suffering with malnutrition, we can say that people are getting thinner and thinner because their carbohydrate sources stored in their liver and everything, they are consumed to produce energy because they don't have enough food to take energy, to take glucose in, but they have something inside them which has stored already, that is glycogen, as we learned earlier. Glycogen is consuming. When it is over, lipids are consuming. That means lipid is normally stored in our below our skin, our hypodermal fat layer. So that contain lipid. It can be it can be consumed to produce energy, and then finally these proteins are using to produce energy in our body at the end, but not at the very first, after carbohydrates and lipids, when they are over. And then components of cell membrane, hair and feather. Proteins act as a component in cell membrane, hair and feather. Here you can see it can be found in hair and feather, that means keratin. And in our cell membrane also, we are learning about cell membrane and all the cell structures in our next one of the next lesson. So later on we will discuss about the structure of cell membrane in detail, but here you have to remember just cell membrane contain proteins. In our cell membrane we can find proteins. As enzymes, as I told you, they catalyze the biological reactions. And there's a special thing, antibodies. Antibodies, they are special type of protein produced in our body when there's a pathogen attacked. That means maybe a particular virus or maybe a particular bacteria is entering into our body. At that time, our body produces a special type of protein. As you can see in this image, there are little Y-shaped particles. They are antibodies. They come and attack, they come and bind with that particular pathogen and help to destroy it. Then it gives us the protection. And then they act as hormones in our body to maintain our homeostasis and coordination. That is another function. As hormones in our body, most of the hormones in our body are proteins. As an example, there are many examples in our body. When we take most of the hormones, almost every hormones are proteins, but there are some few hormones which are lipids too, but most of them are proteins. And then this is another function. This is next function. This is a separate function to maintain the homeostasis and coordination in our body. And then we are moving to the group lipid. Now we have discussed about two groups, carbohydrate and proteins. We discussed about their significance, their structure and all. And then we are moving to lipids. When we think about lipid, it has CHO. As I told you earlier, it has CHO, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. So these lipids are divided into two groups depending on their physical state at the room temperature. එතකොට fats and oil these are two groups of lipids we can find easily in a kitchen. The fat is the thing which is solid at room temperature. Oil is the thing which is liquid at room temperature. එතකොට olive oil and coconut oil, all of these things are oil, they are liquids. So they are lipids which are oils. And then here you can see margarine, butter and all the things, they are fat because they are solid at room temperature. Room temperature means just 25 degrees of Celsius. හැබැයි අතට ගත්තාම අපි චුට්ටක් butter වගේ දෙයක් දිය වෙනවා because our body temperature is higher than room temperature, but it is solid at room temperature. When we think about their special features, they are insoluble in water. They are insoluble in water and they are soluble in organic solvent. අපි දන්නවා අර මොනවද කොහොල්ල ජැක් ග්ලූ පොඩක් ගැවුනහම මොකද අපි කරන්නේ? පොල් තෙල් අරගෙන ඒවා අයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් they are soluble in organic solvents. They can be easily mixed with these organic solvents. When we think about the structural units of these lipids, it has two structural units. In case of protein, there's one. In case of carbohydrate, there's one. But in case of these lipids, there is two. What are these things? Can you tell me by looking at this?
Fatty acid,
And other one is
glycerol.
Yeah, glycerol or glycerol. So fatty acid then glycerol. Together, they make our lipid. Okay, so these are the common feature about lipids. And then there's nothing much to learn about these lipids more. We have to just remember what are their elemental composition, that is CHO, and what are the two groups of them depending on the physical state, and then what are their features. They are insoluble in water. And then what are their structural unit like this, fatty acids and glycerol. So significance of lipids. Then here, when we think about the significance of lipids, as I told you earlier, I told you that in the section of protein, when the carbohydrate and lipids are over, protein acts as an energy source. So here, then eventually lipid is an energy source. Then when the carbohydrate is not enough, it produces energy. But it produces more energy than a single carbohydrate molecule. Carbohydrate, and just rather than glucose molecule. Then they are component of cell membrane. As I told you, cell membrane is made up of proteins, and also here it is mentioned that lipids. Lipids and proteins make the cell membrane. And then they are important to conserve water in a plant or in our body. In different plants, we can see that plant leaves have a very shiny surface. That means අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට නෙළුම් කොළයකට එහෙම නැතිනම් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඔය දිලිසෙන කොළයකට උඩට වතුර දැම්මම හබරල කොළයකට වගේ ඒකේ වතුර රැඳෙන්නේ නැහැ because it has a wax layer එකක් තියෙනවා. Cutin is the wax present at top of the plant leaves. So plant everywhere in the plant surface, and it conserves water. It prevents the transpiration, the loss of water. Water loss when you can transpiration nisa. And then in our body, it maintains the body temperature. As I told you, hypodermal fat layer, hypodermis or the hypodermal fat layer, it absorbs more and more fat. So it acts as an insulating layer. It's just an insulation. So it prevents the heat loss or it prevents the temperature increment in our body. එතකොට අපිට ප්‍රශ්නේ තැනක ගොඩාක් ඉඳියාම ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් දරා ගන්න පුළුවන්. Because we have hypodermal fat layer, it acts as a insulation layer. And also when there is a highly cool situation, that means අපිට ගොඩක් සීතල දැනෙනකොට සුට්ටක් මහත අයට පුළුවන් ටෙම්පරේචර් එක ටෙම්පරේචර් loss වෙන අඩු වෙන එක දරා ගන්න අපිට වඩා. ඒ කියන්නේ කෙට්ටු කෙනෙක්ට වඩා. ඒකට හේතුව because they have a thick hypodermal fat layer. There's a good thick fat deposition. They don't feel much temperature fluctuations. But we are going to shiver at the end. But when we have a very thin fat layer, so it's like an advantage here. So it then as the next function, it protects the internal organs. When we think about our body, all of our body organs, all the body organs are covered with a fat layer. That means a lipid layer at the top of each and every organ. They are not rubbing each other. They absorb the shocks and they provide the protection to our internal organs. Rub වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So there's no any resistant forces between these things. They are not damaged, so they are protected. And then finally act as hormones. As I told you in the protein section, there are many proteins. There are many hormones which are proteins, but there is some which are lipids. Here it is mentioned here estrogen, progesterone, and cortisone. Here estrogen and progesterone are sex hormones. So they are lipids. Here cortisone is also a hormone which is a lipid. And then, so this is the end of 3 biological molecules. Now we are moving to our next biological molecule. Hope you have understood. And until now, is there anything you have to discuss, you have to ask from me? Is there any difficulty you face when you are going to understand these things I'm telling you?
No, teacher.
Is that fine until now? Okay. So we are moving to next part. That is nucleic acid. When I was telling you about these 4 biological molecules, I told you that there's not a specific source of nucleic acid because we are not taking it as a specific food which contain nucleic acid in that way, because all the cells, all the living plants, they are also animal cells. So each and cell, every cell contain nucleic acid. So there's not a specific source, or each and everything contain. So there are 2 types of nucleic acids. Can you read them? What are those? But this is DNA. This is RNA. Yeah, RNA and DNA. What is the elemental composition? Can you remember those? Can you remember the names defined by this CHONP?
Yes,
Can you tell me?
teacher.
See?
Carbon,
Yes.
hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus.
Good, phosphorus. Then those are the elements present in nucleic acids. Then DNA, it is one type. It is named as deoxyribonucleic acids, and RNA is ribonucleic acids. The difference between these 2 is DNA is double-stranded, RNA is single-stranded. Chains දෙකකින් තමයි DNA හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ දෙක එකට connect වෙලා, and RNA is made up of a single chain. එක එකයි තියෙන්නේ. අර DNA වල තිබුණ දෙකෙන් එතන එකයි තියෙන්නේ. So when we think about their building block, in the section we are talking about all of these 4 molecules. I told you that nucleotide is the building block of nucleic acids. Now here we are giving different 2 names for DNA and RNA separately. Here this one is deoxyribonucleotide, and for RNA part it is ribonucleotide. These are the building blocks of the nucleic acids. And then when we think about their significance, DNA is really important because that is the organic molecule or the biological molecule which stores and transfers genetic information from generation to generation. ඒක ඔක්කොම features store කරගන්නවා from our grandparents to us and for our children. One day they store and transfer their information written in them. It's like a code එක හරියට code එකක් වගේ. All the information is mentioned here. What is our hair color, what is our height, and what is our skin color, all of each thing, and what is our all the features, everything is mentioned in our DNA. So it's really important for us. And then it controls our cellular activities. As I told you, when we take a cell, it has the nucleus in it. In this nucleus, we can find whatever DNA in as our genetic material. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් RNA ගත්තාම RNA is not present in our cells, but it can be found in different viruses and different microorganisms like this. But RNA is not found in us. They store and transfer genetic information from generation to generation. They control cellular activities in each and every cell. Finally, DNA is important for evolution. Evolution means from us, another organism may evolve in future, but we were evolved from chimpanzees and they were evolved from another ancestor. In that way, evolution occur. This evolution is just a change of the stored information on this nucleic acids, DNA, mainly DNA. It happened due to the variations occur due to mutation. Mutation එකක් කියන්නේ change එකක් වෙනවා. Whatever change. ඒක breakdown වෙන්න පුළුවන්, අලුත් එකක් වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, අලුත් nucleotide එකක් add වෙන්න පුළුවන්. In that way they are changed. So finally the information will change and evolution occur. New organisms are formed. So that's about DNA. And RNA, it is important for doing a particular function in our cells, that is protein synthesis. Because all of our body functions are conducted by, controlled by different proteins. Our muscle activity is given by the actin myosin protein. And different biological reactions like food digestion and synthesis of different biological molecules in our body, each and everything is carried out under the influence of enzymes. Enzymes are proteins. These proteins are produced by this RNA. In that way, they control our cells. So nucleic acid is just like principal's office or the principal in the office in a school. So nucleus is just like the principal's office in a school. So it's control all the activities in a school. So it is helped, that process is helped by the principal like DNA. In that way, they control our activities in our body. So this is all about for biological molecules. And then when we talk about carbohydrate, proteins, and lipids, we are taking those things with our food. So we have to, there should be a method to identify whether there is that nutrient, that organic molecule in our food. එහෙම ටෙස්ට් කරලා බලන්න පුළුවන්. But nucleic acid is not there, but we have some identification test for different organic molecule, different biological molecules. The first one, it is glucose. It's a carbohydrate. So we have different tests here: glucose and sucrose, starch, and then protein, and then lipids. We have to discuss these four tests to identify biological molecules. So here glucose, it's a simple sugar. What we have to do to identify whether there is glucose in our food is Benedict test. Benedict test එක තමයි කරන්නේ. So what we are doing here is we take our test solution, maybe some glucose powder dissolved in water. We take that. 2 centimeter of that actually. 2 cubic centimeters, that means 2 milliliters of that we are taking. After taking that, we add uh, equal amount of Benedict solution. We are adding Benedict solution. It is blue in color at the beginning, so it is blue. අපි colorless solution එකකට blue color Benedict solution එක දානවා. Then it is blue in color. Then what we do is we keep it in a water bath and heat little by little. We are supplying heat. When we are supplying heat little by little, what we take little by little is a nice color change from blue to brick red color, or the brick red precipitate actually. It is precipitating down to the bottom. පහළට යනවා රතු පාට precipitate එකක් කියන. අපි මොනවා හරි residue එකක් deposit වෙනකොට. So here at the beginning blue, and then it turned into green, and it turned into green yellow or greenish yellow color, and then it turned into orange. Finally it turned into brick red. So if we do a test for this, we can observe this nice color change from blue to brick red precipitate. So this is glucose. This is a monosaccharide. This is a simple sugar. Simple sugar can be identified easily by using this Benedict test. Simple sugar molecule. Glucose, fructose, and galactose. All of these three things can be identified by using Benedict test. Now we are moving to our disaccharide section. They are made up of two monosaccharide molecules. These are monosaccharides. Then these are disaccharides. So sucrose, as I mentioned earlier, table sugar. We can dissolve some table sugar in water, and we can take 2 milliliters of that. Then we are adding equal amount of Benedict solution as earlier. And we do the same thing here. We do the same thing as we did for the monosaccharide or the glucose. But we can't observe a color change. What happened to that? We have to do something else to see that color change. As I told you, sucrose is made up of glucose and another fructose molecule. So what we do here is we are going to hydrolyze this sucrose. To hydrolyze this, we are adding sulfuric acid. It's an acid. It come and break down the bond between glucose and fructose in sucrose. Then it make a nice monosaccharide solution. It can easily give the results for the Benedict test. So finally we get this color change of blue, green, yellow, orange, and brick red precipitate at the end. So that is about sucrose. And then starch. This can be easily done in your home too. So what we here do is we take a starch suspension, palm piti, corn flour, whatever. We can dissolve it in hot water, and we can take the suspension. And what we are doing next is we add a few drops of iodine solution. Iodine solution, it is yellowish brown in color. We are adding few drops, and what is the color at the end? What we get here? What is our result according to this image?
Blue color.
Yeah, blue color or purple color. එම නැත්නම් සමහරලාට අපිට දෙනවා bluish purple color, whatever. This is blue color. So this is the observation at the end of a starch test. So if you want to do it at your home, you can just take a few biscuit or cream cacao, whatever, or palm piti, wheat flour. You can take some, and you can add few drops of betadine solution in your home. It's a provided solution. It will give the same results. So it's iodine solution. It gives blue color at the end. Here it's a piece of potato. The person have added iodine solution on top of it. So finally it has turned into blue color. And then this is the test for starch. And we have discussed 3 set tests for glucose, sucrose, and starch. And then we are moving to test for protein. What is this test? This is biuret test. Biuret test. Here what we use is we first we take a solution of protein. මෙතන easy ගන්න පුළුවන් එක තමයි අපිට lazy ගන්න පුළුවන් egg white. It contain a protein named as albumin. Albumin theory. Albumin. It has albumin. So we can take egg white and add extra amount of sodium hydroxide. And then we have to add few drops of copper sulfate. Copper sulfate චුට්ටක් බිංදු දෙක තුනක් දානවා. Then එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ දෙකම එකට දිය කළා laboratory එක තියෙන්න පුළුවන් biuret reagent කියලා. So it is a combination of both sodium hydroxide and copper sulfate. Then it is biuret reagent. If not, sodium hydroxide, extra amount, if we take 2 milliliters of or 2 cubic centimeters of albumin suspension, albumin solution, we have to take about 3 to 4 milliliters of sodium hydroxide and few drops of biuret reagent. And then what we get is a nice purple color. Nice purple color. Actually, it's a pale purple color at the end. It's a nice pale purple color. Then we can assume, yeah, it's contained protein. That's why it gives us purple color. So that is the protein test. So these are the, this is the final test, which is we are doing for lipids. What we have to do here is, we have to take a few little amount of coconut oil or little amount of olive oil or whatever oil we can take, a few amount of oil. And then we have to add Sudan 3 reagent. Here it is mentioned as 1, it should be only. Actually, this is Sudan 3. Sudan 3. Here it is mentioned only 2. It is 3. Sudan 3 region. And then when we add it to this, it will give us some few oil droplets which are pink in color. We can observe at the top of the sample what we used for the test. It's just like an emulsion. It can make a bubble. It's like an emulsion. We can see nice pink color droplets at the end of the test. So this is for lipids. Sudan test. And then now we have discussed major identification test for 3 biological molecules except nucleic acid. We are not discussing a test for that. But when we take a food sample, we have some different method to check whether they contain water, whether they contain carbon, or whether they contain nitrogen. We can test the presence of these things by using different tests. To observe if there is water in our food sample, what we have to do is, we can take a crucible. Crucible, and we have to put our food in, and we can heat it. We can heat it. While heating it, before heating it, we have to put a piece of glass at the top of the crucible. Then we will get some few droplets of a particular liquid at the inner side of the glass sheet. Then we can test that small droplets with anhydrous copper sulfate or anhydrous cobalt chloride. Anhydrous copper sulfate means it's a just white color powder. It will turn into blue once we put that powder onto that small liquid droplets. If we put anhydrous cobalt chloride, it is initially blue in color. It will turn into pink. So it will turn into pink. Then we can understand that in the presence of water, it gives these results. Blue color and pink color of cobalt chloride, they are the signs of the presence of water in whatever the food we have used. එතකොට චූටි it just maybe just piece of vegetable, maybe just a piece of meat, we can use for that. And then but we have to use it dry, otherwise if we are taking after washing it, it will give the presence of that water. But we have to uh, we have to remove water with a tissue paper or something, and then we can use it. Then we can check whether it contains water or not. And then the presence of carbon. This is really easy. What we have to do is we have to heat the food sample for a while until it become a brown color, coal-like thing. Then what we have to do it? We have to take the residue out and rub it against a paper. When we rub it, we can see nice coal lines. Pencil එකකින් ඇඳ වගේ coal lines අපිට පේන්න තියෙනවා. Coal lines. So these coal lines gives the sign of the presence of carbon. Carbon තියෙන නිසා. Then the presence of nitrogen. The final thing. So this is very easy to remember. The nitrogen is an element present in protein, as we discussed. මෙතන ඉගෙන ගත්තා. Nitrogen is present in proteins. Here you can see nitrogen is present in proteins. So what we do here is we are doing the give me a second. We are doing the same test as we did for the proteins. So we take the same sample, we take the whatever the sample we take, we are adding sodium hydroxide in extra amount, and then few drops of copper sulfate, and finally biurate reagent. Sorry, if not biurate reagent. Okay. These two solutions or biurate reagent, we are adding it to the sample, and finally we will get the result of our protein test, that is purple color. Purple color gives the sign of proteins. So presence of proteins means it contains nitrogen in that sample. So that is the test for some few different things like water, carbon, and another element, nitrogen, in our food. So these are the identification tests. Now this identification test section is over. Now we are moving to discuss about other biological molecules in our body. At the beginning, I told you that there are few organic molecules in our body. Carbohydrate, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids are the major 4 biological molecules in our body. So this is vitamin. This is not a major molecule, but this is very, very important. What are the two main groups of vitamins mentioned here? One group is, what is that? In the top of the slide, you can see here, what is this group?
Water soluble.
Yeah, they are water soluble vitamins, or the water soluble vitamins. Other group is fat soluble vitamin. Normally we are taking vitamin B, vitamin C tablets as medications, but there's no harm when we take little more of this water soluble enzymes, because they are easily removed with our urine. But there's a problem with this C, it's another one, but B is okay. If we take more that yellow color tablet, normally they are taking normally in when we are having exams we are little bit uh, lazy and we are having some difficulties. Sometimes we are taking these B or C. So these are easily removed with urine because they are water soluble. But these fat soluble things, vitamin A, D, E, K, ADEK කියලා මතක තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. Vitamin A, D, E, K, they are not that type. They are fat soluble. They are dissolved in fat and then later absorbed and they are stored in our body. Hypodermal fat layer in our liver, they are going to be deposited. They are going to be stored. So it is dangerous. So these things should not be taken in without advices of without medical advices. So they are fat soluble. That's why that difference occur. But all of these vitamins are very important for our body. When we think about their functions, vitamin A, it is really important for the formation of our visual pigments. If there is a deficiency of this vitamin A, it gives dotted patches in our eyes. Here you can see there's a white color patch in this person's eye because it's due to vitamin A. And also night blindness occur. It is difficult to see at night. So it is night blindness. And then it is important to keep the skin healthy and fair. Skin එක healthy තියාගන්න vitamin A. It's important. If there's no vitamin A in good amount in our body, in our food, if we don't have enough vitamin A, we will get dry skin, blisters on knees and elbows. අර elbows වල චූටි චූටි එහෙම නැත්නම් knees වල චූටි චූටි කටු වගේ පොඩි පොඩි බිබ්ලි එනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් dry skin අර පොඩි කුඹුරක් වගේ චූටියට කොටු කොටු වෙනවා. ඔන්න ඔය වගේ dry skin and respiratory tract diseases. එහෙමත් there's a deficiency symptom due to vitamin A deficiency. And then B, it maintains the nerves. Since it's maintain the nerves and also it is helpful for the formation of bone marrows and it helpful for the maintenance of the skin healthier and it is important for the antibody production. So if there's a deficiency, it gives symptoms like beriberi disease. This is named as beriberi disease and anemia, dry skin, changes in complexion. Changes in complexions means there's a spots in our body. Here it is a feature of this beriberi disease too. You can see here there are spots in this person's hand. And also if there's a vitamin B deficiency, there's a symptom which is due to the reduced antibody production. If we get an attack of a pathogen, there's a reduced antibody production. There's no much antibody is producing, so we will get a disease easily. And anemia is it prevents the oxygen gas transport in our body because formation of bone marrow is affected by vitamin B. So bone marrow is the place which produce red blood cells. So production of red blood, that process is affected by vitamin B deficiency. So we will get anemia. And then another few vitamins. These are the only vitamins we have to discuss. C, we get scurvy. Scurvy can, and also the symptom of scurvy is the weakening gum and interbleeding too. Scurvy disease, when we get scurvy disease due to the absence of enough vitamin C, we will get scurvy. Our gums are weakening. We will get bleeding gums. Our gums වලින් gums වලින් පොඩි bleeding වෙනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් internal bleeding. There are some bleedings in our internal body and delayed recovery of diseases. They are the deficiency symptom of scurvy. එතකොට scurvy C කියනකොට scurvy කියන එක එහෙම මතක හිටිනවා. අපිට ඊට පස්සේ B කියනකොට beriberi disease, letter B remind vitamin B deficiency. ice කියන එක නම් මෙතන වචනයක් නෑ. අපිට S කියන එකෙන් ice කියන එක vitamin A deficiency කියන එකෙන් මතක තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. So here D, we know that D is vitamin D can be produced in our body due to the morning sunlight. So if there's a deficiency in vitamin D, it affects on our bones, because D is really helpful for the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. Calcium and phosphorus are the element which made our bones. ඉතින් calcium phosphorus absorb කරන්න බැයි නම් we will get deformed. මෙතන එන්න ඕනේ word එක. This word is wrong. This is not deformation of bones. Deformation, the change in the form. Here you can see they are just curved deformation. We call this disease as the rickets. Deformation of bones is the rickets due to vitamin D deficiency. And E is helpful for the growth of tissues and cells. So when the enough growth is not enough for a fetus in a body, premature birth may occur. Premature birth. And then weakness in cell division and reproduction, and increase the breakdown of red blood cells. It affects the growth of tissues and cells. That's why the reason we get premature birth and all of these symptoms. And then final one, vitamin K. It is really important for blood clotting. Blood clotting, that means when we have a wound, we will get a blood loss. We will get a blood loss, but we have to prevent it to protect our body. In that case, a blood clot is formed. Blood clot එක හැදෙනකොට to make those substances, maybe different components helping it to produce those things, vitamin K is important. You think if there's no vitamin K in our body, we will get here delayed blood clotting. This is D, delayed blood clotting. Blood clot වෙන එක delay වෙනවා. And finally, those are the symptoms and functions of vitamin functions and their deficiency symptoms. Then we are moving to discuss about, that is the last part of our lesson, few inorganic compounds. As I told you at the beginning, water is an inorganic. It's an inorganic compound. And then some minerals, ions. අපි ඒවා ගැන කතා කරනවා. Minerals, few ions. And then some gases and oil. So in this lesson, we are discussing only water and minerals only. So water is really important. It is 2/3 of our body weight. 2/3 here is just like more than 60, 66, like more than 66 වගේ. So it's really important to drink more water, because large percentage of our body weight is water. If we are not having enough water, we will get some difficulties with digestion of food, and we are getting different health problems. So let's discuss what are the importance of this water. It is acting as a good solvent. So it provides a medium for biological reactions. All the biological reactions are occurring in cells in their cytoplasm. So cytoplasm contain large amount of water. So all the biological functions occur in this watery medium, liquid medium. So it provides the medium. And the main component of extracellular fluid. මේ cells අතර තියෙන extracellular fluid එක, this area, the area between the cells, it is made up by this water. Main component of this is water. And remove of excretory matter of fecal matter. To remove urine or to remove our fecal matter, we need to get much amount of water. Otherwise, we will get urinary tract diseases or diseases with digestion, all the things will happen. So it's a good solvent and make the removal of excretory matter and fecal matter easy. And then oxygen gas dissolve in water for the respiration of aquatic organisms. All the fish and aquatic plants, they take oxygen, which is dissolved in water. Then it acts as a coolant. That is the second function. Coolant, it cools. That means it has a good ability to absorb more and more heat without changing its temperature. ගොඩක් temperature absorb කරන්න පුළුවන් but without changing ගොඩක් heat absorb කරන්න පුළුවන් without changing temperature. කියන්නේ it has a high heat capacity. This is the special feature which gives the ability to act as a coolant. High specific heat capacity. That means the meaning maker or ඉගෙන ගන්න වෙනම lesson එකක, but specific heat capacity is the amount of heat which should be absorbed to increase the temperature by 1 degree of Celsius. එක Celsius එකකින් temperature increase කරන්න absorb කරන්න පුළුවන් absorb කරන්න ඕනේ heat එකට අපි කියනවා heat amount එකට අපි කියනවා specific heat capacity. So it has a water has a high value of specific heat capacity. ඉතින් water can absorb more heat without changing the temperature much. ඒක නිසා our body temperature doesn't fluctuate quickly. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට ඉන්න බෑනේ රත් වෙනකොට අපිවත් රත් වෙන්න, but it's not happening. And then inorganic compound water, we have another two functions. Differential expansion. This is really important for the maintenance of life in a pond in a very cold area. That means here, when the ice is forming, ice tend to flow on the water. Ice tika flow වෙනවා. That means ice is having a less density than water. When the water is freezing, water molecules are expanding. They are expanding as they increase the volume. When the volume increase, its density decrease. අපි දන්නවා පොඩි equation එක D density equal වෙනවා mass එක divide කරනකොට volume එකෙන්. When the volume is increasing of a particular mass, this density is decreasing. ඉතින් එතකොට මේ ice පාවෙනවා. When the ice is floating on the top of a water body, it acts as an insulating layer. එයා තවත් cool වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අර යට පේන වතුර ටික freeze වෙන්නේ නැහැ. That's why we can see in Discovery Channel that penguins are swimming inside the water bodies. Those are under the ice glaciers. Those are under the ice layers. And also some people are fishing by piercing that ice layer because there's a good life below that ice layer due to the special effects of differential expansion of water. And then that is it. And then last feature of water is highly cohesive and adhesive forces. Cohesive and adhesive forces helps to transport different things throughout our body and also throughout plant body. Here you can see in this image, it gives the image of the tissues which are transporting water in a plant body. Those are named as xylem tissue. So this xylem tissue has xylem vessels, and these blue color water molecules are attached together due to the cohesive forces. When two water molecules are together, they can attach together due to cohesive forces. And also they can attach different ions and different hormones, and all the things can be adhere to the adhesive forces of these water molecules. එයාලා අතර interaction එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම different nutrients, hormones, vitamins වගේවට interact එයාලට adhere වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So they can be easily transport anywhere through blood in our body, if not through water, by water in a plant body. All the minerals are absorbed like this in a plant cell, in the plant root, and from stem to the leaves. And then finally, at the end of these lessons, we are going to discuss about the minerals. So I hope now you have a good knowledge about the function of water as an inorganic compound in living matter. And then these are few functions of minerals. When we take our body weight, 7% of our body weight is just minerals, 7% of that. And then large amount of this 7% is given by calcium, because calcium is present in our bones. When we think about our body, bones are having a high weight. So when we take 7% of minerals, just about this 7% contain large amount of calcium in it as mineral. So that's why it is given in yellow color here. So when we discuss about different function, I have taken all the functions into a graph, like into a table like this. Otherwise it's difficult to remember those things, but just remember these things. No need to read by heart these things, because these are just MCQs in your paper. You don't have to write all the things like what are the functions of sodium. In that way they are not asking questions. You have to just select the answer, so you can just remember what are those. So I have grouped them according to their function in cells, and what are their functions for the nerve function, and what are the things they act as a constituent of, and what are the things they synthesize, and rest of them are in group named as other. So you can easily remember this in this way. So in cells, potassium and sodium, they control the ionic balance of fluids and control the osmotic pressure in cells. That is the function of potassium and sodium in cells, to control ionic balance and osmotic pressure. And then in case of nerve function, in nervous system, potassium, sodium, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, all of these 5 is important for the nerve function, but different functions. Potassium, sodium transmit nerve impulses, because nerve impulses are just electrical signals. So this sodium plus ions and potassium ions, they helps to transmit nerve impulses. And then magnesium, they control the nerve activity. In that way, calcium also having a nerve function. And then phosphorus, iron, and finally, which is mentioned here, it is iodine. So these are the elements. Up to potassium, they have nerve function. Instant release of energy in nerves for potassium, and proper function of nerve and muscles is calcium. In that way, up to here, nerve function. And as a constituent of, just remember these things. When we think about potassium, it's the constituent of nucleic acid and also our teeth. And when we think about our bones, it's a calcium. Calcium and also magnesium is they are constituent of bones and teeth. Eating on, they are for bones and teeth. And then digestive juice, it is containing sodium. In that way, you can remember. When we take different enzymes, they have iron molecules. That means ferrous, Fe, iron molecules in them. And then it was in this section under the synthesis of කියන එකත් එක්ක අපි ගත්තාම අපිට තියෙන්නේ ferrous, iron, ඊට පස්සේ iodine, ඔය දෙක තමයි. Iron is required to create hemoglobin molecule. And then thyroxine is produced with the presence of iodine. අපි කියනවා thyroid. That thyroid infection. It is thyroid inflammation. That inflammation in that thyroid gland, it occur due to the deficiency of iodine. Iodine අඩු වුණාම thyroid gland එක ඒකට අපිට we are facing a disease due to the deficiency of iodine. මොන විදිහට ඊට පස්සේ other in that section you can find some few things. Calcium is important for blood clotting and absorb vitamin E. ඊට පස්සේ iron, as I told you, it's create hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is the thing which carry oxygen, so it helps the storage of oxygen in muscles. In that way you can remember. And then these are few other functions of potassium, sodium and magnesium. So here these are the deficiency symptoms in human. අපි දැන් කතා කරන්න යන්නේ මොනවද මේ deficiency symptoms. What are the deficiency symptoms due to these deficiencies of these minerals? Here there are some diseases. These are related to these functions, so you can just read them. These are not much important to read by heart. Just remember as just facts. Just read, then you will remember. When you read few times, you will remember those functions. So as most common things, weakening of bones and teeth. Calcium is required to make the bones and teeth. So weakening of bone and teeth is the deficiency symptom. And magnesium, sodium, all of these things are important for nerve function, then nerve irritability and psychological diseases. And they will occur due to the deficiency of potassium, magnesium, like this. And so these are the things. And iodine is really important because it affects the intelligence development and length, body height. අපේ height එක වැඩි වෙන්නයි, intelligent development යි. This iodine is really important because thyroid gland produce our hormones. So hormones activates our body. So that hormone production is affected by the iodine deficiency. That's why iodine deficiency should be treated very fast. Otherwise, we will get intelligent development problems. Iodine. So these are the things. And then functions of minerals in plants. NPK, those are the most important elements for a plant. අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට fertilizer ගන්නකොටත් NPK fertilizers කියනවා. For flower plants, for vegetables, we will take these fertilizers. Elements are present. These elements are present in fertilizers. So they do different functions. NP, they are constituents of different major biological molecules. And potassium is again for protein synthesis, and also it is important function. Its important function is this one: opening and closure of stomata. What are the functions doing by a stomata? Can you just assume stomata එකක් මොකද කරන්නේ? එයා ඉන්නේ under the leaf. එයා මොනවද කරනවා ඇත්තේ? What are the functions this stomata do? Can you just remember from your lower grade 9, 8, 10, 6 again? Sorry, 7, 6 again grade වලින් මොනවද මතක? stomata මොනවද කරන්නේ? Gas exchange. Can you remember? Can you remember?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, yes, carbon dioxide gas, oxygen gas, they are uh, removed and taken in by stomata, and also water water release වෙනවා. Transpiration occur through stomata. I think opening and closure of stomata is done by this potassium instead of being acting as another uh, instead of being acting as N and P as the constituent of different elements. Then Fe, it is really important for the chlorophyll synthesis. Chlorophyll is the green color pigment in our plants. We see plants in green color due to the presence of chlorophyll. But to produce this chlorophyll, we need more uh, iron, more Fe. So if there's a deficiency of this Fe, we will lose the green color of the plants. එහෙනම් මොන පාට වගේ වෙන මැද්ද? When leaves are losing green color, what they become? What color they become? දැකලා තියෙනවද? චූටි චූටි patches එනවා නේද? මොන වගේ color patches දෙන්නේ? වටකද? නිකන් දැකලා
Brown
තියෙනවද
color.
වටේ ඇවිදිද්දි? ඔව් brown color එනවා. brown color වෙන්න කලින් මොන පාටද දකින්නේ අපි? ටිකක් ලා මොන වගේ කලර්ද? yellow color වගේ patches දැකලා තියෙනවද?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, you have seen that yellow color patches එනවා when there's a chlorophyll when there's no enough iron to produce chlorophyll in plant. So we are discussing it here. That's a major symptom which is named as chlorosis. Chlorosis කියන්නේ the green color turning into yellowish or white, yellowish white color in a plant, mainly yellow color. So chlorosis occur in different parts of the plant due to the deficiency of different elements, but mainly due to the deficiency of Fe. Tender leaves, ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක් young leaves, චූටි කොළ ගහක තියෙනවා, they become yellow in color. හරියට මෙන්න මේකේ වගේ. Small leaves are becoming yellow in color. And due to the deficiency of N and K, and also due to the deficiency of sulfur, chlorosis again occur, but there are some different places for that. Chlorosis occur in each and every leaf due to the deficiency of potassium, but due to the nitrogen deficiency, it occur only in mature leaves. ලොකු කොළ ටික විතරයි කහ පාට වෙන්නේ. Fe, iron නැති වුනහම younger leaves, tender leaves become yellow color. When there's a deficiency of sulfur, veins and in between area, හරියට මෙන්න මේ වගේ. Veins yellow color වෙනවා. Like here, and in between area. Vein එක වටේ, it is green in color, but in between area is yellow in color. And here, NP again affect the reduction of growth. As I told you, they are the factors which produce all the biological molecules. So they affect the growth, reduction of growth. And then here calcium. It is the component of cell wall. And again, there are different functions. And zinc again, it's important for chlorophyll synthesis. And sulfur, it acts as a constituent of amino acids and proteins. I think at the end, they will give another few symptoms. So here, this is the same thing which is mentioned in the previous slide. Here you can see, due to the deficiency of phosphorus, it gives purple color and red color patches. P and P. You can remember it like this. PP means purple color phosphorus deficiency. And also some red too. Here you can see. Can you see this nice purple color in these leaves?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, yes. Although it is nice, it's due to the deficiency of phosphorus. And then potassium. Yep, deficiency disease. Again, it is patches, but they are different in color, yellow and brown. On potassium gives yellow and brown patches, phosphorus give red and purple color patches. And finally, calcium, due to the calcium deficiency, it gives dead leaf tips. Leaf tips, leaves වල අග චුට්ට dead වෙනවා. So dead leaf tips is a deficiency of calcium. And due to the zinc deficiency, there's another feature. ඔයා දැකලා තියෙනවද? අර thick වෙච්ච නිකන් ඝනකම වෙච්ච අර පොල් කටු වගේ කැඩෙන කොළ සමහර ගස්වල තියෙනවා. Normal කොළ වලට වඩා වෙනස්. Have you seen?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah. It's due to zinc deficiency. Dead tissues and cells, therefore, and extra thickness of the leaf. Leaves become thick. So these are the deficiencies of different minerals in our plants. So this is the end of this lesson. At the end, so here, do you have something to ask from me? Am I fast? What should I? How do you feel like me? How do you feel about me? Am I fast to you?
No, teacher.
Is it fine, everything? Okay. So, Kavya, you can download that. It's like a worksheet. It has 10 questions. Can you see the website now I am showing you?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah. It's like it is struck. Here, as I showed you earlier, you can download that worksheet. It's under the paper section. So you can fill it, you can re-upload it to me. Then I can recorrect it. And once you take the printout of your PDF tute, you can fill the spaces in it. Then it's a whole tute. It's like a short note for you. So Kavya, now it's finished up to now. Thank you for participating. So we will see in our next classroom. Bye.